Viking village, once called Independent Fish Company, was started in the 20s by the early Scandinavians who settled here. Aside from some changes, the addition of piers and bulkheading and other renovations, the docks looked much the same way then as they do today. Even the shops of Viking village were also a part of the fisherman's routine. Viking village represents the legacy of commercial fishing to Barnegat Light. Here, just about every type of fishing known to the eastern seaboard has been used at one time or another by men and sometimes women who make their livelihood here. Today's fishermen at Viking village are often second and third generation commercial fishermen who struggle to survive in an industry threatened by legislation. Currently, there are close to 35 commercial fishing boats who make Viking village their home port. Gill net boats make up the largest portion of that number. Gill net boats are vessels who do most of their fishing inshore. They are generally smaller vessels, no larger than 50 foot in length, that set out nets generally from several hundred to several thousand feet in length. Their depth may be from 10 to 40 feet, depending on the movement of the fish and the species a fisherman is seeking. Targeted catch is caught by its gills in the net. The net's mesh size allows smaller fish to swim through unharmed, but even when fish that aren't targeted are caught up in the nets, tending of the net by the fishermen ensures that many of them are released alive.
That's a monkfish over there. That gets sent to Cape May, goes into a freezer, and it gets packed and put in a container and goes on a ship to Korea. Almost all the monkfish here goes to Korea. The rest of the fish you see here, butterfish, weakfish, flutefish, and to the right of these are medium weakfish. This is a nice clean white fish flavor. That's a large weakfish, LW. And we're putting them in 60-pound boxes with ice. It's a cardboard wax carton. It's going to go to the market and be taken out tomorrow and then distributed to the wholesaler or the restaurant.
Viking village is home port to 15 scallop boats. Annually, these boats bring in about 2 million pounds of scallops through a method that's altogether different than long lining and gill netting. Scallopers use huge iron dredges. Each boat carries 2 dredges that are 25 foot in length. The dredge, that resembles a triangular sled, is pulled along the bottom for a period of an hour. The full dredge is pulled up from the sea floor by a winch on a thick cable. The dredge is then transferred to a boom and the contents of the dredge fall to the deck. Scallops are then shucked by hand and sorted by size. The less scallops in a pound, the larger the size. For example, 10-20 scallops are huge. The scallops are washed, drained, and then put into 40-pound bags and iced for the return trip. Buyers look for several characteristics in the scallop. Viking village scallops are considered dry scallops. This means there's no liquid preservatives added to the meat. Buyers also want a scallop to look uniform. If a crew member is green, the scallops he shucks will show it. Meats have to be uniform without nicks and cuts. Another sign of a quality scallop is in how well it's washed out. Scallops are, by their nature, full of sand. There's nothing worse than biting into a sweet, juicy scallop and getting a mouthful of sand. But that's exactly what happens if they're not washed properly.
As a little kid, my dad has Lloyd Marina Service, California. Did a lot of time on the water with him, pulling people off bankments, stuff like that. got into fishing about 7 years ago. Started off scalloping, 2 boats. One out of Long Beach Island, the other one was out of Cape May. Then I came out here and I've been on this boat for 2 years now. I can't picture myself doing anything else. This is the job. This is the job for me.
Once the scalloper pulls into the docks, the scallops are lifted out of the fish hold where they've been stored on ice. They're sorted into orders made for wholesalers, then loaded into a waiting refrigerated tractor trailer. Parrot Trucking delivers fresh seafood from Viking Village to drop points in New York City, New Bedford, Massachusetts, Jessup, Maryland, as well as Philadelphia every day of the week, with the exception of Sunday. Some of the drops also include load transfers with other tractor trailers that bring to drops as far as Canada. Viking Village ships out 2 types of scallops. Those brought in by the day boats, which bring in about 400 pounds of shucked scallops, and those that are brought in by boats that are at sea 6 to 10 days. The longer the trip, the more scallops on board to be packed out.
Hi Nancy, is Steve available? Ron from Viking Village.
Viking Village on the label, quality on the table.
I'll call him. I gotta call him anyway for flat.
Big sellers are always the scallops fresh off the boat. In market terms, they're referred to as day boat U1020. This means 10 to 20 scallops to the pound. The largest scallop in the U10, or less than 10 scallops to the pound. The smallest size scallop sold is the U2030. This size is popular among chefs who believe 6 scallops on a platter look more generous than 3. While most folks are still sound asleep, business at the Fulton Fish Market is just beginning. Here, the bustling market that sees shipments of fresh seafood from around the country on a daily basis, with the exception of Sunday, just starts to pick up pace around midnight, which is typically when the tractor trailer from Viking Village arrives and unloads. Fulton is considered a focal point, both shipping and buying for the seafood industry in the Northeast.
It don't come any better, I'll tell you that.
It's a noisy, bustling corner of the city where wholesale buyers, restaurant owners, consignees, and independent buyers of all ethnic backgrounds gather to pick up or purchase the freshest of seafood. Regularly, owners make that early morning trip into New York City just to get fresh scallops. Over the years, Viking Village scallops have gained an excellent reputation with the big fish markets like Fulton and Lawrence Street Market in Philadelphia.
Ernie is one of the nicest guys I ever met. I can't believe what a gentleman. I'm from Viking Village here and I got monkfish. Both are first quality. You can see the blood in it still, they're beautiful. The scallops, I'm not going to be able to crack the bed open, but these are nice day boat 2030s. Thank you.
Barnegat Light, with all its rustic charm, spacious beaches, and small community feel, figures in very highly when it comes to beach getaways. It's been this way since the turn of the century, but long before this town was a tourist resort, it was a fishing village. A livelihood that traces back to the 1600s when settlers watched the horizon for whales. Few look beyond the dunes, across the boulevard and onto the Bay Road, past the bulrushes and the quiet sedges, at the outriggers and booms of the commercial fishing fleet. But this is the most valuable aspect of this little, tiny town.